Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a pretty cool video. In this video, I just want to say thank you, and we're going to do some giveaways in this video. Of course, the giveaways are sponsored by some amazing channel sponsors. So thank you. We're going to do some awesome giveaways. We're going to install a light system on the Bull aircraft. That's the primary purpose of this video, and it's going to be good. So stay tuned and we'll get started. All right guys, we've got multiple channel sponsor gifts today for you guys. We'll just get that out of the way to begin with, and I'll tell you the rules to enter this competition. Giveaway is probably a better way to say it. So Sky Candy, huge supporter of the channel. Thank you, Sky Candy, for everything you guys have done over the past couple years. The light systems with Sky Candy are amazing. That relationship started out with my Tudor aircraft, getting a set of Tudor of lights on the Tudor aircraft, and totally transformed that aircraft. So we've got a couple Sky Candy giveaways to do in this video, and also we've got some solder stick giveaways as well too. Now solder stick, there's a link down below to the solder stick testing video, and it's been absolutely awesome. Very, very cool connectors. A lot of people doubt these things. I've tested them, they work amazing. If you've seen the test video, it's awesome. So we're gonna do a couple giveaways in this video. The first one is going to be a Sky Candy nose light. Now this one includes a nose light and a digital switch, and that's giveaway number one. Giveaway number two is a set of landing lights. These are the 7/8 size, and that also includes a digital switch. This is about $100 US value for this combo right here, and I can't remember what the nose light is, but pretty awesome stuff. And then solder stick, we've got two 50-piece kits to give away to you guys, and all these giveaways are provided by some of the channel sponsors, by Solder Stick and by Sky Candy landing lights. All right, so keys to entering. Step number one, you have to be a channel subscriber. So if you're not a channel subscriber, go to the little subscribe button wherever it is and hit that subscribe button. It's really good if you hit the bell as well when you subscribe. That way you'll get notified when I release new videos. Step number two is give the video a thumbs up. You have to give it a thumbs up in order to be entered. Step number three is you have to make a comment down below in the comments section using the word lighter, L-I-G-H-T-E-R. Doesn't matter how you use that word, but you have to make a comment using the word lighter. And we're going to pick the winner from the comments down below in this video. The winners will be announced a couple weeks after this video comes out. So we'll do one draw for the landing lights, one draw for each of the solder stick connectors, and one draw for the nose or single landing light from Sky Candy. Now the purpose of this video is to get some lights installed in the Hispano Aviation Bull aircraft. And that's not the Bull, actually. I just realized that. The Bull's sitting up there. That's the Ultimatum. And we've got a cool Sky Candy light setup going in that. So when I built the Bull a few months ago, I wasn't quite sure if I was going to put a lighting system in it. I had some discussions with Sal from Sky Candy, and we came up with a wicked design, nice and simple for the Bull. And I've kind of modified it a little bit, and I think I'm going to run the modified system. We'll get more into that throughout this video. So what we're going to be installing on the Bull from Sky Candy is we've got our wiring harness here. Now this is one of the beautiful things that Sky Candy puts together. So Sal does these wiring harnesses up. Everything's just plug and play. It's all marked, super simple. I love this part about Sky Candy. When this shows up, it's already designed for my aircraft. Don't have to muck around with all this stuff. We've got a gear light times 3. So one for the mains and one for the nose. So we're going to be putting those on the gear. And then we've got a pair of 7/8 lights, and these are going to go in the intakes on the nose. This is pretty cool. I think there's a fellow in Dubai flying the Bull with this setup. So pretty slick, and looking forward to this. So we're going to have to pull the Bull down from up there, get it down here, put it together, and then we'll start with our lighting install. Now, of course, during the lighting install, we're going to be using solder stick connectors to do some of this work. So that's why Solder Stick, who's also a channel sponsor, is in the giveaway today as well. So thank you, Solder Stick, for the connectors. Love these things. All right, it's actually been so long that I've had this plane down that I've kind of just been spending a bit of time going through it and getting refamiliarized with everything in here. So I've done that, kind of just trying to figure out a system that we're going to be using here. So there's quite a few different options with the lighting setups. So with our Sky Candy setup, here's the harness that they did up for me, and I'll give you a quick rundown here of what we got. Now, we've got the battery power. This is all labeled. Now the battery power in goes to the two different systems. That'll make sense here in a second. We've got our RX and RX. So these are our two receiver controls, and that goes to the landing gear setup and the intake light setup, which is right here. The setup, basically, we've got, the reason we have two controls is one controls the landing lights, sorry, these guys. One controls the nose lights, so you have independent controls of that. So what we would generally do on this Bull aircraft is our landing lights, we could just plug into our GS controller, our gear controller, in one of the door outputs and program it. So it only comes on when our gear switch is down. And then our other light controller will have independent control of that, which would be on a switch on the radio. So that's the first layout here. Now, what you want to do if you're using a Sky Candy landing setup is you want to have a switch between the battery and the lighting harness. Now, the reason you need that, the digital switches, if you don't turn the battery power off, you can blow your digital switches. So what I want to do with that is I don't want to have a different switch to take my canopy on and off. So what I'm going to do in this scenario is I'm going to use a Unilight module controller. So the reason we're going with this setup on the Bull is primarily because of weight. I wanted to keep this as absolutely light as possible, and the controller allows me to do that. Now, I actually thought about powering this whole thing through my central box and not even having a separate battery, but I don't think I'm going to do that because my receiver batteries, they're only 2200 milliamp batteries on this Bull, so I'm probably going to run another battery as well too. So there's lots of different ways to set this up, but the way I'll be setting it up is through a separate controller. Just the easiest way for me to do all this, and I also want to be able to, like I said, with Jetty, have my canopy on and be able to turn my aircraft on and off and not have to take the canopy off. So there's some simplicity things that I want as well too. I wanted this aircraft to be as simple as possible, but also as light as possible. So just kind of wrapping my head around how we're going to be doing this stuff. Dropped the main landing gear here as well too. So when we put the gear on, what we'll do is we're going to do a little bit of sanding on the Electron leg, and then we'll have to do just a bit of a cutout here where that light is going to recess into the wing itself. So there'll be a little bit of a notch out for the light that's going to go on the leading edge of the gear, and that's how we'll be mounting those. So part of the problem is I should have done this when we first did the aircraft, because then it would have all been easier and part of it all. But again, I was undecided what I was going to do. But it's also fun to show you guys how you can add this to any aircraft very easily. All right, so we are working on our gear lights first. And the reason we're working on our gear lights first is just because. No reason. So on the nose here, we're going to put it right here, as low as we can get it. So it's basically going to touch this area right here. So when we're putting these landing lights on, the backing plate gets glued onto the leg. So what we want to do is we want to take our Dremel, sand this down just a little bit to get rid of the black coating and create some texture for the glue to adhere to. And we do the same thing on our nose as we do to the other legs. So this is our landing light. So yeah, that's basically it. So we're going to also sand down the back of the plate here, and that gets glued into place. Now on the main legs, what we're going to do is we're going to run those right there. We can also, I guess, go, we'll just run it right there. That'll work well. And then, so we're doing the same thing here. We're just going to sand that down, get those glued in place. And then, of course, we're doing just a little bit of a cutout here, depending on where it's actually sitting. Now you want to pay attention to things like we've got a support right here, right? So that is like 3 fingers down. This is really technical. 3 fingers down from the wheel. We go 3 fingers down from the wheel, and we are not in that range, right? So we're down here, which means our cutout's going to be right in this area. So we won't have any interference with those supports. All right, so we've got all of our gear lights glued on. For this, I used 20-minute high sol. One of the reasons I use the 20-minute high sol is so that any glue residue is clear versus the white of the 9462. So those are all glued on, and they are clamped, and we're just waiting for them to cure. So that's a good step complete. What we're doing now while we're waiting for that glue to cure is working on the belly light here. Now, initially I took the hatch cover off here. I was going to put the belly light right here. The downside to that is when it's sitting in the bag, the travel bag, and if you have it on a flat surface, all of the weight is really on this spot. This is kind of the lowest spot of the plane. Kind of dips down everywhere else. Don't really want to put it back here in the tail section. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the NACA inlet on the bottom here. Now the downside, we wanted to put it right there, but we've got our UAT mounted right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back a little bit. That kind of hides the base of the light, but it also recesses it so it's nice and safe, and there's going to be no impacts or anything in that location. So that's where we're going to mount the belly light. So all we're going to do for the belly light is we'll just put a hole in the center, and that's where our wire is going to feed through, and that's going to be good. So this is one of those scenarios where I will cut the end off of the Unilight connector, and we'll shorten this to whatever length we need, and then we'll use our solder stick connectors to put this back on. But that makes it so we can feed all this wire through a smaller hole. And then what we'll do is we'll just glue this in place with some shoe goop, and that's going to be perfect. All right, so we've got a bunch of our lights installed now. So we've got the plane flipped back over. We have the top light installed. Did it in exactly the same manner as the underside. So that's shoe gooped in place, just curing. And we were working on the front lights. Now this is probably the coolest thing about this light installation is those lights in the intakes. Now they're pretty much invisible under normal conditions. Like unless you're looking for them, you don't know they're there. You can see them a little bit when you look this direction, but when you are looking at the front of the aircraft and they're on, oh, and of course the camera's not doing it justice, but man, I love Sky Candy lights. So when we're coming in for a landing, we're going to have those 2 lights and then 1 on each gear, right? So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 front lights. And under normal flying conditions, we can decide whether we want to have those on or off. And I was a little bit worried that they would disappear when you're kind of at different angles and stuff, but they're really quite bright and striking in all different angles. And it's really cool that it lights up that entire front section here. So really excited for that. That's really cool. So what we did here was we used a straight edge and ran it across the lenses, the straight edge being just a piece of maple, just to make sure that they were pointing at exactly the same angle. That's kind of an important thing because if you get them at different angles, side to side, up and down, when you're coming straight on, you'll see one bright, one not bright unless you're looking at the right angle. And then we just tacked them in place with some CA and kicker. So they're just very lightly stuck in place right now. So what we can do now that we're happy with those locations is I we'll probably use shoe goop now that they're kind of stuck in place. There's no real reason to cover them in CA, but now we'll put our actual adhesive around them and get them stuck into place. But they turned out wonderful. Very happy with them. So we basically have pretty much all of our lights installed except our wingtips. Now that is the last one we were going to install. I was a little bit skeptical whether I was going to actually put these on, but I will put them on. They're kind of the smaller Unilight ones. I'm fairly disappointed in these because they're not as bright as the Sky Candy ones we've had in the past. But these fit the wingtips a lot better. So all these are is just colors. So there's just 3 green LEDs, 3 red LEDs, and that's it. Still decently bright, and they'll be fairly invisible on the wingtips. So we're going to put those on, and it looks like we probably have a channel running all the way down the leading edge, which is also very helpful. All right, so we have got our last lights here to install. So we did a measurement and got this all done up and made a slot there in the wingtip. So the slot is just long enough for the light piece and the wire to go through. Managed to find a way through the entire wing. There is on the bull here, there is like a rib that goes through this area right there, and we just punched a small hole through the rib, ran the wire through there, so it's not very big at all. And now we've got our wire here, and we've got our light with our wire here that we need to connect. And this brings up a great opportunity to show you guys these amazing solder stick products. So these are the 2 50-piece giveaways that we're doing. They contain all the different sizes, and we're going to use these guys, and I'll show you how they work. Now, if you have not seen the solder stick test video that I did, there's a link down below in the video description to that solder stick test. If you're a skeptic, watch the video. They're amazing. This is a perfect scenario to use these little devices, and they are a huge time saver, super simple, and all I need to use in this case is my wire strippers, a lighter, and the solder stick pieces. Okay, so all we need to do is we're going to strip off a small little section of each of the wires. It's not super critical, but about 4 or 5 millimeters works quite well. So we'll do that on the light side, and then we'll also do it on the power box wire side. Okay, so what we need to do now is we take our positive wire. In this case, we've got orange on the Unilight side, and we've got red on the wire side. So you don't really need to interweave the wires. It is nice if you can, but I haven't found it to be super critical, but this is usually what I'll do. Pop the wires together, slide the connector, and you just center the solder onto the sections of wire. Now when you're using a lighter, I find that it works really well if you do the ends first. So what I'll do is I'll focus on the ends, because you don't want the solder to start melting right away, otherwise it flows, right? So we melt the ends first. Just kind of going back and forth. Once the ends are melted, I'll start working my way towards the center. And the solder is now melting and flowing. And we'll just focus a bit of heat on the center. That's it. So super simple. These are waterproof as well, so now we've got a waterproof seal. Not that it matters on this plane, but if you're doing boat stuff or automotive stuff, it does matter. So we've got a nice waterproof seal, shrink tube, solder, all done. So it's as easy as that. I love these things. They work amazing. This is my most common scenario to use these products. So definitely check out solderstick.com. And more importantly, guys, with SolderStick, we organized a discount code for you guys. So if you use the discount code RC20, as it's shown right here, RC20, you'll get 20% off your order of whatever solder stick product that you get. So I have one of the big kits. They're awesome. We'll be giving away 2 of these 50-piece kits in this video. All right, so we pulled all of our clamps off, and all of our lights are nicely fastened to the legs now. It's the next day, so they've had lots of curing time. And we got our wingtip lights all mounted as well too. Just use CA to mount these. Super simple. Put a couple drops of CA, plug them in place, and worked out great. So obviously we used our solder stick connectors to connect all these. That saved a bunch of time and just kept things simple. So the wingtip lights are done as well. So now with the wingtip lights being done, it's time to get on to routing the wires. So I'm going to start off with the wings because it's probably the most complicated portion, and the worst portion, or the worst part of all this, is going to be running the wires for the legs. So what I need to do, and the reason I say that is I need to unbolt the legs to run this wire, and what I'm going to do is just follow the wire that's there right now, right? So we'll just include it in the spiral wrap for the brake, and that'll keep things nice and simple and clean looking. So the goal is to get this wire to this location, and then we can put it on its own connector. I'm probably just going to put these 2 wires on their own connector, a 4-pin connector, or sorry, a 6-pin connector. If I would have done this from the beginning, we could have oriented these connectors a little bit different, but that's okay. Maybe I'll change it. I'm going to give that a bit of thought as well too, but we'll see how things work out. I'm going to start with routing those wires. All right, guys, we got one of the wiring setups done here. Now, what I did was I looked through my parts bin and I found 2. I only had 2 of the Dean's connectors. So these little Dean's connectors, they're like a 4-pin style connector. And that's what they look like. So they are awesome. I've used them before on lighting kits and they work really well. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm actually going to mount this side into the fuselage. So it's going to basically be sitting kind of like that in the fuselage, right in this spot right here. So we'll just do a little Dremel hole, stick it through the inside, glue it in place, and then all you'll see coming through the wing plug-in is going to be that guy, which is going to be super nice and slick and small. So that worked out good. Also because we only have 4 wires here too, which is great. All right, guys, so just on the wiring phase of things right now, we got the Sky Candy nose light all kind of buttoned up and ready to go here. So what I did was I installed spiral wrap from this point up, and it goes about 4 inches into the fuselage. And so what happens here is when the gear retracts, the spiral wrap is taking any of the rubbings and force and stuff like that. So now I'm just trying to figure out where exactly we're putting everything. So this is the wiring harness. Now this would have been a heck of a lot easier to just do all of this stuff in the beginning, of course, like I've already mentioned. I think I'm going to put the wiring harness underneath the front tray. Initially I was thinking about underneath the tank, but it's going to be easier to hide everything underneath the front tray. And we've got long enough wires on everything Sky Candy related that needs to come forward. So I think that's going to be the best way to do it. So what I've done here is just bundled up the wire harness and put some zip ties around there. And then what I'll do is wrap it with a wrap of Velcro and then stick some Velcro down underneath that tray. And then this will just pop into place. It just prevents it from moving around. And if it does move around, it's not a big deal. And then we've got our 2 lines here which plug into the central box. These 3 lines are where our gear lights plug into. And then we've got our 2 lights in the intakes. And then this is going to be the only thing that we really need to run backwards. That's going to be going to our Unilight lighting controller, because that's where we're going to pull power for the battery. So that's the whole plan here anyways. Getting underneath the front tray is kind of the worst part. So that's, yeah. All right, guys, and I'm just still working on the wiring here, and it's areas like this that are huge time savers for using the solder stick connectors. Now, in an area like this on this aircraft, you really can't get in there with a soldering iron. So when I say it's a time saver, I'm not just talking about the actual art or process of soldering. What I'm talking about is something like this aircraft. Now we could get in there with a soldering iron, but what we need to do is we need to pull the whole tank out. And the problem with pulling the tank out is then you're cutting lines, you're rerouting things just to get that tank out to have access to work on stuff. So in some cases, the time saver is other stuff that relates to the soldering. And in this case, huge time saver with those solder stick connectors. All right, now I've had people say to me in the past, why use Sky Candy lights? Why not just do all Unilite lights? I'll tell you, for scale applications, the Unilite stuff is awesome. I mean, we put them on scale planes, they're nice and small, and they fit good and all that kind of stuff in a scale application. But I'll show you guys the bull now. The Sky Candy lights are mental, like absolutely mental. The 4 Unilite lights we put on the plane, they're there. They don't really work that great. Let's take a look. All right, so the first thing I'll do is turn on the, I guess these are the Unilite lights. So we've got our wingtip light, which is pretty nice, not bad. Nice bright red light. Top flasher, it's okay. It's all right. Bottom flasher, it's okay. It's all right. And then we get into the really cool stuff. So here is all of the Sky Candy lights. And that, my friends, is why we use Sky Candy lights. Those are mental. So the gears disappear, they turn off, and those guys are off. So flying around, this is what it's going to look like. You can turn the nav lights on, front lights, and then when you come in and drop the gear, oh, that is crazy. Super cool. All right, so I'll give you guys a quick rundown here on all the technical side of how we got this programmed. So when you look at the instruction sheet for the Black 4 controller, pretty straightforward. Basically, depending on your position, if you think about it as servo travel, that determines the channel layout and what it does. So you can see here in this lower portion of the servo travel here, we've got probably the most amount of choices where channel 4 is solid, channel 2 is sometimes solid, and then you've got the flashing options here on channel 1 and channel 3. So what you're doing is you're adjusting your servo travel to be in whatever range you want for this to actually work. So I'll show you what it looks like on the radio itself. So when our lights are in the on position, so switch forward, if we go into our servo monitor menu here, so you can see our nav lights are at 75%. And when I go off, the nav lights go to 0%. So that is all the lights off. So power is completely off at this point. So this is a 3-position switch. So all the way towards me is everything is off. So when I do that, the nav lights are at minus 110%. So no power, no signal, no nothing is going through the lighting system. Now when I go to the mid position on the switch, what happens is nav lights are at 0%. So the important thing with this is we've got power going through channel 4, which is powering the Sky Candy system. But our Candy lights are still off because they're at 0%. When we go all the way forward, now our nav lights are doing what they Sorry guys, microphone cut out there. So when we go all the way forward, our light system is doing everything it's supposed to be doing. So we've got our nav lights all flashing, power is being sent to channel 4, which is powering the Sky Candy landing light system. So let's take a look at the actual landing light or lighting system layout. Okay, so we've basically got everything nicely done, tidied up, hidden now. We've got the, this is kind of where this all stemmed from, is I wanted these two lights in here, and I saw these on a plane in Dubai, and they look beautiful. So really cool effect coming down the intakes. These are the standard Sky Candy 7/8 lights, and they put a lens on them for me, and you can see the wires coming down to underneath the board. The Sky Candy lighting harness is underneath the board, and then we've got everything Sky Candy related run down to that section. Now the Unilight controller is sitting right there, kind of on the former that's in line with the rear of the tank. And the reason we put it there is just because it works. The battery is actually located right beside this, the tank here. And I'm not quite sure if we're gonna just Velcro the battery down or use one of these battery mounts from Joe at RC Custom 3D Printing, my 3D printing guru, but we may end up using the battery holder. I'm gonna give that a little bit of thought. So that's kind of the layout. I'll show you the lights here and how they all work. Now, the only way the Sky Candy system gets power is when there's power through channel 4 of the Unilight controller. That's the reason I use the Unilight controller, mainly is because I didn't want any separate switches. I want everything done from my radio. So we've got the two intake lights. We've got gear lights everywhere as well. So these are also 7/8 lights. And the only difference with the gear lights is the electronics that are in the light are now moved downstream in the wiring harness. So that makes them a little bit smaller, and they're just awesome. They're tiny, they glue in place, and they are ridiculously bright, but easy to mount on pretty much any plane. And then of course we've got the wingtip lights, which are on each of the wings, red and green. These are okay. I kind of wish that they would have some white flashers back here, but it's nice just to have the red and the green. The strobe lights, or the top and the bottom marker lights, not impressed with them at all. They look nice, they're a nice finish, but compared to the Sky Candy ones that we've used in the past, these are very lackluster lights, not impressive at all. They do work though, which is nice, and they integrate nicely in this airplane. I am a little bit biased because the Sky Candy ones are just bonkers. And on some of the builds we've got coming up, we'll be using some more of those as well. So really the last step on this aircraft is we want to get it back on the CG machine. And the reason we want to do that is so we can double check everything. We've added some weight to the plane. Most of the weight we've added has all been in front of the CG. We do have 4 strips of weight, or actually 2 full strips, which is 4 half strips of weight about here in the nose of the aircraft. I did that intentionally when we built it, just so we could move that CG back when we added different stuff. So we're gonna get this back on the CG machine, check it out, see where we're at, and adjust that CG so we're back to where we need to be. All right, so what we're doing now is we have the bull on the RC CG machine on the Zykoy scales. Now we don't really need to use the RC CG machine because we've already got all the numbers, but I love using this because it's got the level built into the whole center part there. So I can get it perfectly level. I know that it's leveled. We've got a slope going towards the doors here. So we've got 2-inch of wood in the front. But from there, we get it all leveled out side to side. So it works perfect. Love this tool. Easily one of the best tools we have in the shop right now. Love it, love it, love it. Link down below to RC CG machine. Check it out, guys. It is very cool. All right, and if you've watched the video this far, we have some more giveaways to do for you guys. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you for seeing this part. Thank you for being a loyal watcher, and let's give some stuff away. So we've got 3 lighter side of RC t-shirts. These are all XL. So the first one we have is the Evolution shirt. Evolution, whew, come on. There we go. Oh. Evolution continues, and it's got the lighter side of RC logo on the back. These are nice sport shirts as well too, so they're a cotton poly blend if you care. They're not like thick, heavy cotton. And next one we have is the XL black one. Got Jet A, absolutely love that. And same label on the back, lighter side of RC. And the third one is like a full polyester shirt. This is a 2XL, and this one's kind of nice for hot areas too. This just has a cool, awesome logo on the front and the lighter side of RC logo on the back. All right, guys, how do you enter for winning these shirts? So we pick the winner from the comments down below. So there's 3 things you need to do. Number 1, hit that subscribe button down below. If you're not a channel subscriber, you have to be a channel subscriber to win. Number 2, give the video a thumbs up, one of these. Number 3, you have to make a comment. It's okay. Hint, hint, the more comments you make, the more entries you get. So you can have an entry with our previous word, and you can have an entry with our new word. So the new word to win the shirts is airplane, right there. Make a comment down below with the word airplane. We are going to pick the winners of the 3 shirts. Now, there's going to be 3 winners. So if you win, you don't get all 3 shirts, you get 1 shirt. The second winner gets a shirt. Third winner gets a shirt. So they're going to be picked at random. Thanks, guys. And thank you for the channel support. That's really what this video is all about. And we are installing some darn cool lights on that aircraft. Okay, so when we did the CG on this aircraft, like usual, what we're doing is we are using a landing amount of fuel. So we've got 750 milliliters in the top tank there, which is kind of what we're going to be landing with. And we took the hatch off, so this isn't really accurate. There we go. So I also took all the weights out of the nose as well too. So now we are a little bit nose heavy, and we're 2 millimeters in front of the recommended CG. So if we take all the fuel out, we'll be actually behind the CG. Now, if we look at the weight here, so with the landing amount of fuel, we're 32.2 pounds. Let's pull the fuel out of this and see how much weight the lighting system added. All right, and there is our empty weight. So no fuel, UAT full, we're at 31.1 pounds. Previous to this, the aircraft was 30 pounds even. So basically to add the entire light system, including the battery, which is right there, so the battery is about 100 grams. So the battery is 1/4 pound. So we basically added 3/4 pound for the lighting system, 1 pound for the entire lighting system. So definitely a good addition to this plane. It is not going to feel the weight. Love this thing. All right, guys, and that is going to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you, Sky Candy, for the donations for the giveaway. Totally appreciate this. This is absolutely awesome. Thank you, Solder Stick, for the 50-piece giveaway items as well too. This is great. Gives you guys an opportunity to try these things out. Don't forget discount code RC20 to get 20% off your order at Solder Stick. And lighter side of RC, thank you for donating the shirts to give away as well. All right, guys, and that's everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow the instructions we've talked about in the video to enter the giveaways. All the giveaways will be chosen from the comments down below, so make sure you use the appropriate word that we've talked about for the different items. So thank you to the channel sponsors as well, whether they were in this video or not. We totally appreciate everything that you guys do. And we have tons of fun projects coming up, guys. Lots of neat projects, some different extreme things from massive jets to not jet related stuff and everything in between. So thanks, guys, for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel, and we will see you in the next video.